Hello and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at.
There are 68,000 people who are unhoused.
Chicago's first chief homelessness officer on how she plans to address the city's unhoused crisis.
Archaeopteryx is like the Holy Grail.
It's often described as the missing link between dinosaurs and birds. A look at the Field Museum's new and incredibly rare fossil. Plus, how a local woman with celiac disease is helping others who can't eat gluten dine out safely. And now to some of today's top stories. Nearly 100 people are claiming they were sexually abused by correctional officers and staffers at facilities across Illinois. According to a new lawsuit, plaintiffs say sexual abuse was allowed to persist inside Illinois youth centers for decades. The alleged abuse occurred between 1996 and 2017, and the victims were all minors, some as young as 12, according to the complaint. Attorneys filed the lawsuit today against the state of Illinois and its Departments of Corrections and Juvenile Justice. Spokespersons for those agencies did not immediately respond to requests for comment. You can visit our website for more on this story. Investigators are looking into allegations that Chicago police officers used excessive force against pro-Palestinian protesters outside the Art Institute of Chicago this weekend. The complaint made to the Civilian Office of Police Accountability included a video posted on social media by a Chicago Sun-Times reporter. It shows officers attempting to set up a barricade and protesters resisting. Nearly 70 people were arrested Saturday on suspicion of trespassing after officers cleared the encampment set up by protesters. A spokesperson for the Chicago Police Department says it would fully cooperate with the investigation. The complaint comes as lawyers for the city prepare to defend a new policy that would allow mass arrests of protesters about 100 days before the Democratic National Convention comes to Chicago. Students at city colleges of Chicago looking to transfer will now be guaranteed admission to Chicago State University. University officials say to qualify, city college officials must complete an associate's degree and the general education core curriculum. Students must also maintain a 2.5 GPA to enter the program and remain eligible. And students who are part of the Chicago Star Scholars Program and have at least a 3.0 GPA will also get a $1,000 scholarship for up to 2 years. Up next, meet Chicago's first chief homelessness officer right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Homelessness is a problem that's on the rise in Illinois and Chicago. That's according to a U.S. Housing and Urban Development report from earlier this year. To combat the issue, Mayor Brandon Johnson appointed the city's first chief homelessness officer, Cindy Soto, last month. She has her work cut out for her, though, to develop a 5-year plan to get unhoused residents safe and stable housing. And joining us now is Cindy Soto, the city's first chief homelessness officer. Congrats on the new position. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've been in the position for a month. This is the start of your 5th week. And you were previously the senior director of community impact at the Chicago Community Trust. Tell us a little bit about sort of the challenges of creating a new position from scratch.
Yes. Well, one, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be in this role and serving the city of Chicago in this way. And the mayor, I think I would say that he chose me because he knows that I can lead and can build something from scratch. So building programs and services from the ground up has been something I've been doing pretty much all of my career since being in the public sector, and also, you know, in various spaces like healthcare, and at times trying to build capacity in philanthropy. And so for me, my first experience was really working with then Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth in building her district office from scratch. And we had to ensure that we were meeting constituent needs, and we had to ensure that we were also supporting the constituents that saw her as a champion, like Veterans Affairs and people with disabilities. moving forward in the public sector, I was able to really bring that lens of building constituent services in a holistic approach in a way that really motivates people to believe in the public office and their public representative. And now in this position, I get to bring all of those experiences that I've had working with other elected officials or in social services, where I've had to create programs and services from nothing. My most recent and germane experience with the City of Chicago was working as Managing Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Housing, where I built the Bureau of Community Engagement, Racial Equity, and Strategic Initiatives. It went from an office of 1 person to 9 paid staff to 6 paid interns in a matter of 2 years. So I know that the work is going to be a lot. I have a lot ahead of me. But given all of the experiences and challenges that I've already experienced and overcome, I have no doubt, and also with the support of the mayor and the leadership team, that we're going to do a lot of good work together.
Because you're taking on a very daunting task, right? Something that has not been solved yet, and that is, of course, with homelessness. And part of your role is to develop a 5-year plan to end homelessness in Chicago. Tell us a little bit about what that plan might look like, or what needs to be in it, what you're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming in with a huge network of people behind me, and I really have to give a shout out to the Chicago Funders Together to End Homelessness that has been on the ground, committed to seeing various solutions come forward. And one of them is this position that they helped create with the City of Chicago. And along with that is putting forward some initial key milestones, and the 5-year plan is one of them. The way that I really want to make sure that I complete this along with all of the stakeholders and people with lived experience is doing it in a 3-phase approach, where the most immediate phase will involve working together in some more short-term, low-hanging fruit solutions, also that can meet the city's budget, and then working alongside a longer phase with community to ensure that I'm receiving the feedback and capturing the voices and needs of people with lived experience. So I see that being more of the longer phase of ensuring that I'm in community, talking to not only people with lived experience, but also that are homeless, but also people who are at risk of homelessness, and learning and hearing from them what they've been wanting from the City of Chicago, how they want to be served, what has been missing, and what we can do better. There are a lot of services already that the city provides, but certainly people have different experiences with them, and I want to make sure that I capture that.
One of the things you mentioned is, of course, the city's budget. Many homeless advocates were really hopeful that the Bring Chicago Home measure would pass during the primary election a couple of months ago and eventually fund a plan to reduce homelessness. You came to this position even after that election, after that measure failed. How does your job look without it?
Certainly would love more funding for homelessness services, but I am also really hopeful and excited that in this administration with Mayor Brandon Johnson, that wasn't the only solution that we were going to put forward to address the issues of homelessness. And it's really a nationwide issue. It's not just an issue that the city can do alone, but nationwide we have a shortage of affordable housing. So we have to look at other opportunities. And the mayor just passed a bond ordinance that's going to allow for over $600 million to go into affordable housing. And this includes preserving single-room occupancy units, where a lot of people experiencing homelessness might go to. Also being able to provide more permanent supportive housing where people that need wraparound services can be able to secure those services. So although Bring Chicago Home didn't pass, it wasn't the only solution that the administration was going to try to put forward. And in this really monumental issue that does not only exist in the city, it won't just take the city to also solve, but certainly we're looking at other avenues that we can pursue that can help address some of these problems.
This is a personal issue for you as well. You've said that you sought stable housing for yourself when you were 18 years old in order to escape a violent situation. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that experience with us and what you learned from that?
Yes, I mean, I grew up very low income in the community that I still reside. And I also experienced being doubled up with my immediate family, extended family, and sometimes people that were just strangers needing a place to stay and can help subsidize my parents' rent. It was challenging, and growing up in a community that also faced a significant amount of violence, community violence, certainly didn't allow for me to really dream too big. I had to always kind of stay close by and had to watch our perimeters. But most importantly for me was an opportunity to pursue something different for myself. And that's why I did everything I possibly could to move out at the age of 18. Little to no resources. You know, I didn't have money to finance my education, my higher ed education. And so I really needed to find different ways in which I can succeed and thrive in society, but in this city in particular. And so I chose to move away from home and work 2 jobs and go to school and find a scholarship and try to get myself through the various challenges that were before me. And I have to say that if it wasn't for the people that really were there as mentors, organizations that were there to catch me when I would fall, I wouldn't be here today. You know, to do that alone, you know, there were other issues that were complicated in my life, and so oftentimes I was faced to address all of these problems alone. But to do it alone also meant that I needed to find the people in the community that wanted to help me. And so I had people at Wright College, I had people in the community, I was volunteering at a nonprofit and at Inspiration Cafe, and they brought me joy, and that helped me keep going. But it certainly was not easy because I needed to, again, work 2 jobs. I also needed to overcome some other challenges that my family and I were going through. But the city is just a wonderful city that if you find the right people, it's going to give you everything you need.
The right person for the role, it sounds like. We've got about 15 seconds left. How do you plan on making this case to City Council about the role that everyone should play in reducing homelessness?
It's going to take everyone. I always tell people, you know, this currently is an office of one, but it's really everybody's office. This is Chicago's Office of Homelessness. Everybody can come to me, can seek out services and information that they've been wanting for. And I'm going to lean on them. I'm going to lean on the city council members. I'm going to lean on community-based organizations, on philanthropy, on the private sector, to really bring all of these resources to the table, because it's not just going to take one person, or there's not just one way forward. It's going to take all of us.
The word is out from Cindy Soto, the city's first chief homelessness officer. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And up next, a major addition to the Field Museum. Stay with us. What comes to mind when you hear the word dinosaur? Maybe a stegosaurus or a triceratops or a scene from the movie Jurassic Park. But how about a pigeon? Because it turns out birds are dinosaurs, and the Field Museum says it has a fossil to prove it.
3, 2, 1.
Earlier today, the Field Museum unveiled the Chicago Archaeopteryx fossil, which helps connect the evolutionary dots and show that birds are modern-day dinosaurs. And here to tell us more about the fossil is Jingmei O'Connor, an associate curator of fossil reptiles at the Field Museum, and WTTW news reporter Patty Wetley, who got an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at how the museum acquired the fossil. Patty, welcome back. Jingmei, welcome to Chicago Tonight. Thanks for joining us. So, of course, you helped the Field Museum acquire this fossil, 4 years ago? And you had to sit on that secret, which I'm sure was tough for you. But what does it feel like to be able to tell the world about it today?
It's such a relief, to finally have the secret be out in the open. Also, I had these earrings made 4 years ago, and this is the first time I've been able to wear them. So that's the important thing here.
That is what's important. I would agree is the earrings. I'm sure it's very exciting, and we're going to talk more about it in a bit. Patty, you also had the chance to talk to some field execs. How big a deal is this for Chicago?
I mean, it's huge for the Field Museum and for the city in so many levels. There's only 13 of these Archaeopteryx fossils out there. We are the only major city outside of Europe to have one. So it's a huge opportunity for Jingmei to do science and research on a specimen that you wouldn't normally have access to. Huge opportunity for education, because a lot of people haven't heard of Archaeopteryx up to this point, but also like a feather in Chicago's cap. The executives, even the governor was like, Chicago, dinosaur capital of the world. It's amazing for the city, and a huge opportunity for us to sell ourselves and how important science is in Chicago.
I think, Friday when I started preparing for this segment was the first time that I had heard of an Archaeopteryx. Jingmei, take us back to the basics. What is an Archaeopteryx?
Archaeopteryx is the oldest known fossil bird. So it's the only fossil bird that's ever been found from Jurassic age deposits. It's 150 million years old, which is about 20 million years older than the second oldest fossil birds. And so when it was found in 1861, it was the oldest fossil bird then. And even in the next 163 years, we've never found an oldest fossil bird that is convincing everyone it truly is a fossil bird. So there are some other dinosaurs that are very bird-like, but this is the first piece of evidence we have for understanding the evolution of birds. And birds are the most diverse group of vertebrates land vertebrates on our planet today. So this is, the first piece of puzzle to understand one of evolution's great success stories.
Because I think a lot of folks might simplify it and kind of want to compare it to, what is the flying dinosaur? Was it the Velociraptor?
The Velociraptor?
All
the mistakes. Let her correct all our mistakes.
Exactly. A lot of folks might think of that and go, wait, this is new, or it's not new?
Yeah, so pterosaurs are, when you see like flying reptiles that are alongside dinosaurs, they're not dinosaurs at all, and they're not birds, but they are a group of reptiles very closely related to dinosaurs. So a common misconception. But we now know there were other flying dinosaurs like the Scansoriopterigids I was mentioning, also Microraptor. We don't really understand how flight evolved in dinosaurs, if it evolved multiple times or a single time, producing all these different flying organisms, and then a lot of things like Velociraptor actually secondarily lost flight. But maybe this fossil is going to be something that's going to help us to shed light on these controversies. But this is just the oldest fossil bird. So all birds are dinosaurs, but this is the oldest dinosaur that can also say it's a bird.
Okay. Patty, who else has been involved with bringing this fossil to life?
Oh, there were a couple of fantastic fossil preparators, which was a job I did not really have familiarity with before. Connie Van Beek and Akiko Shinya, and they took, this sort of like blank slab and chipped away, and revealed the beautiful skeleton that people will see on exhibit. The gorgeous skull, the vertebrae. It's one of the best Archaeopteryx specimens out there. I mean, I'm sure the best.
Well, and to that point, why is this particular fossil so special?
Well, I think it's so special because it's at the Field Museum, and because we are a research institute that really prioritizes the work done by our scientists, but also that regularly engages in public education. We take joy in sharing our research with the public. And so through a combination of these two qualities, we're going to learn so much from this amazing fossil, and we're going to share it with the world. So I hope it's going to be something that's really going to educate people about evolution, but also about the fact that pigeons are living dinosaurs, and also hopefully inspire scientists of the future.
And the way this one came to you as well, obviously it was very well packaged, but the fossil itself was still, tell us a little bit about that, because you were able to sort of dictate, how to bring this fossil out. Tell us a little bit about that, please.
Yeah, so this fossil had been in private hands, the hands of private collectors for over 30 years, and luckily no one ever thought to prepare it or to even look inside and see how complete it was. So it came to us with just a little bit of bones exposed, and the first thing we did was pop it in an X-ray machine, and we saw, whoa, it was complete, almost 100% complete, which is like beyond our wildest expectations. And it's also perfect because we have two of the best preparators in the world, Connie and Akiko. And so they really prepared this specimen for science. Now, a lot of other recent specimens that were described in the 21st century are in the hands of private collectors. So they were prepared to look beautiful for a collector. But, and so they do things like fill in, they carve they carve missing parts of the skeleton to make it seem more complete than it is. And we really made sure that when we prepared this, we didn't do anything like that, any of these like misleading techniques that add, add things to the specimen, but also because we were really trying to take our time and just prepare this as meticulously as possible, we have all sorts of really delicate traces that I think may have been present in other specimens, but were prepared away when they were prepared by these commercial preparators who are just really trying to do this quickly so that they can sell the fossil. So yeah, that's why it's really fortunate that it came to the Field Museum, and that's why it's so beautiful, I think.
Is there anything in particular that you think about this fossil that might help us better understand today's birds?
Yeah, so Archaeopteryx, there's 12 specimens that came before ours, and it's one of the most studied fossil taxa of all time. So I didn't really think we were going to learn basic new information, things about how the skeleton looks that will then help us understand which group of dinosaurs birds are most closely related to. But yeah, we've learned just a ton of new information. We've actually drastically transformed how scientists now know this taxon looked, how this species looked. And for example, new information we've gleaned from the palate, which are the bones that form the roof of the mouth, they suggest that birds may actually be living troodontid dinosaurs.
What?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one thing to say like, oh, they're a group of dinosaurs, but I think, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that they nest within a group of dinosaurs called troodontids, and so technically birds would not only be living dinosaurs, but they would be living troodontid dinosaurs. And this is just a hypothesis. I think this is something we're probably still going to be arguing about for another 100 years, just because this fossil is so important. But I think we are getting a lot of really important new information from this specimen, more than I ever, dreamed or hoped to get, that is really going to drastically change how scientists look at Archaeopteryx, and I hope that sharing this story with people will drastically change how people look at living dinosaurs, at things like pigeons and seagulls.
Yeah. Seagulls, awesome. Patty, almost out of time, but you got exclusive access to this fossil ahead of today's announcement, which is super cool. You put together some additional resources to help viewers better understand this fossil. What can they find?
Well, one of the things, when she just mentioned troodontids, we have a fabulous, what I call our Finding Your Roots Dino edition, where she explains, where Archaeopteryx and where birds fit in the sort of dinosaur family tree.
It's very messy.
That's great. Nicole Cardos edited it down perfectly. We have an extended interview with Jingmei, and we also have a great description of where the other specimens are, what they look like, and what makes Chicago's so amazing.
Okay, yeah, a lot more information there.
A lot more info.
Yes, this is very exciting, and I want to congratulations to you, Jingmei, and I want to thank you both, of course, for joining us. Jingmei O'Connor from the Field Museum. Patty Wetley, of course, thanks as always for joining us. And you can see the fossil at the Field Museum starting tomorrow. And as we mentioned, to learn more about the new Chicago Archaeopteryx fossil, visit our website. As Patty mentioned, there you'll find video explainers, behind-the-scenes footage, and much more. It's all at WTTW.com/news. And we're back with more right after this. May is National Celiac Disease Awareness Month. The autoimmune condition causes damage to the intestinal tract when foods containing gluten are eaten. Celiac is currently known to affect about 1% of the world's population, and only a small fraction of those diagnosed are Black. But research suggests that many more Black Americans could be affected. Chessa Rollins says when she was diagnosed with celiac disease, dining out became a dangerous gamble. So she decided to cook up a solution herself. Last year, producer Erica Gunderson met up with the chef who's booting gluten from her kitchen. Here's another look.
I didn't go to school to be a chef. I was like, I just like to cook. And then I was like, I'm hungry. So then it was like, how do you make that mix?
Chef Chessa Rollins' recipe for restaurant ownership began with an unusual ingredient, a diagnosis.
I was diagnosed with celiac disease. I found out when I was 3 months pregnant, and I went to 6 or 7 different specialists. And at that time, I started to lose hearing in my right ear. I was losing my hair. My vision was becoming blurry. Once you're pregnant and you have these gluten allergies, the symptoms are escalated. And no one could tell me what was wrong with me. In the African American community, it wasn't prevalent. It wasn't a prevalent diagnosis. So there was no one I could turn to say, hey, I need help. And so for me, it was just a journey of exploring, what to do and what not to do.
Rollins says after facing a lack of dietary advice from her doctors, she decided to blaze her own trail.
I wanted to really see what would happen if I started a gluten-free food truck.
The menu at Chessa's gluten-free food truck, which she opened in 2016, leaned towards street food like wings and tacos. When she opened her dine-in spot in Avondale earlier this year, she rolled out a new menu that includes foods you might not expect to find gluten-free versions of.
I wanted to test out something new called Southern Twang. And Southern Twang just had a spin on, soul food, Cajun, Creole style food. So, the fried chicken, the fried catfish, the fried lobster. So I tried out, rice flour, potato flour, anything that you could possibly think of that was gluten-free, and to see how people responded to it.
Now I know what everyone talks about when they're like, I love chicken and waffles.
Because the kitchen at Cheza's Bistro and Bar is entirely gluten-free, Rollins says customers with severe allergies can dine without worrying about cross-contamination.
I'm happy that people are finding me and relieved. People are crying. I haven't had fried chicken in 10 years. I haven't had mac and cheese in, so long. They're like, oh my God, I can eat anything. I can not have to worry about, if I'm gonna have an allergic reaction. A lot of places where they'll have gluten-free options, but they don't have a gluten-free kitchen. So there's still the danger. So here, there's no danger. And when they tell me that they're, they have a gluten allergy or they're celiac, I'm like, welcome home.
For Chicago Tonight, this is Erica Gunderson.
And for more on Cheza's Bistro and Food Truck, you can visit our website. And that's our story for tonight. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. We leave you tonight with a dance performance in Daly Plaza earlier today. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, which is proud to honor founder and senior partner Robert Clifford, who has been named in Forbes' 2024 list of America's top 200 lawyers.